Welcome all to March Power Hour. It is Tessa here in Indiana, joined by Megan Jax out in Phoenix, Arizona. And tonight we are going to create two layouts. And I think both of them are pretty simple tonight. And if your lives have been like ours lately and you've had a lot of other layouts, maybe a little bit more complicated, I think these are fun, a little bit welcome refresh of just getting some stuff done playing with our paper. So I'm going to flip down to my table. There we go. I see, you can see my mess. I don't understand when I'm only on here with Megan, it's zoomed in, but then once all of you join, it zooms itself out. So the reason why I created this layout is for those of you paying attention, Creative Memories launched 8x8 paper packs this week. And so I wanted to give you a layout that would be very easily adaptable to using 8x8 paper. A lot of the papers, many of them are just smaller sizes of our current 12x12 packs, but all on the mend is a tonal pack, which will coordinate with a printed pack. It's a medical collection. And the graduation one is different too. So this uses an 8x8 here. These two pieces can come off an 8x8 cut. And then we're just going to punch a border, a chain style border, or something for the corner. And then we're going to use our corner rounder to give it a little accent. And that's pretty much pulls it all together. So this collection is Noteworthy, and Noteworthy is one of the options for 8x8. I don't have my stuff yet. It comes tomorrow. So I don't actually have any 8x8 paper to show. And then I have the dotted diamonds, BMC down here. These are all 4x6 mats, but you can see you have plenty of room to do whatever size that you want to do on here. This Vista Blue Shimmer, I think, has been my color the last few weeks. It seems to coordinate with quite a lot, and the shimmer gives it a nice little touch. And this was craft cardstock that I was building on. You don't see a lot of the base paper, which is why cardstock is a very easy choice, so you don't lose a lot of your prints underneath. So for today, I decided to use Passport to Adventure because it's also one of the 8x8 packs coming, although like I said, I don't actually have the 8x8 pack. And I don't think I have, I only pulled, looks like I'm doing one page because I only pulled one piece of paper. So you're going to see how I cut this paper down to use for both pieces also. So I need my 12-inch trimmer. If you're using a 12-inch piece of paper, we're going to cut 8 inches. And then that will give us 4 inches. And then we're going to flip it and cut 4 inches off. And then we'll pare those down. So I chose a double-sided paper intentionally that I liked both sides of. This is print back here is going to be the 8-inch block that I use. So you'll want 2 coordinating colors. I'm going to cut an 8-inch square, but if you're using 8-inch paper, you don't have to do this step. Cut this one down to 8 inches. So if you were using a second 8x8 paper, you're going to have a piece of paper this size. If you're using a 12x12, it's going to flip the orientation if you have a directional print. I'm actually going to be using the back side of this, and I need to trim them down to 3.5. So if you're using an 8-inch piece of paper, you want 3.5, 3.5. So you can save an entire inch if you want to. You could probably even punch that if you just wanted to have 2 border strips. You could get it out of that paper also. Or you can just go ahead and cut it down to 4 inches like we did here and then trim those down to 3.5. So you want to end with 3.5 by 8-inch strips. You will have a couple extra strips you can keep for accenting in another way. So this layout is really super simple. There's not a lot of prep, but you do need to choose a border punch. For my base paper, I chose gray, and I'm going to use Starry Shimmer for my border punch. And while I don't usually like to tease all of you using super hard to find punches, I can't help but pull out my Jumbo Jet. It is hard to find. I'm sorry if you don't have it because it is really hard to find, but I don't use it that much, and this paper has airplanes on it, so I wanted to pull this out. It'll work perfectly. So I'm going to punch a full 12-inch strip. Looks like one of my pieces didn't quite punch off. I'm gonna see if I can preserve this without ruining my strip. Well, this is how you do surgery. When your papers get stuck up in your cartridge and you don't want to tear them, sometimes you just get your multi-purpose tool and try to get it down. I might lose. Oh, no, I got it. There we go. This one makes kind of a mess too. And then I want to cut this down to 4-inch sections. You should be able to get 3 out of there. You can use scissors and a ruler, or you can use your trimmer. It will overlap slightly. So you can have just a slight option adjusting your design if you want to try to get something whole or not. So I have 3 4-inch pieces of my chain style. If you're using a larger one, some of our border punches are larger, then you could just use 2 4-inch strips. I just pulled this down to 1 mat. So when you lay out your page, and if you're doing a 2-pager, you could lay them out together. Decide which corner you want your 8x8 in, and then you're going to have your 3.5-inch strips. And once you know where you want those to sit, you're going to get your corner rounder, and you're going to punch the outside corners of these pieces. If you want to shake it up a little bit, you could use the notch side if you have the 2-way. And then we're going to adhere the 2 on top and find a runner that actually has some tape. And we're just going to come in maybe 1/4 inch or so off the edge and off the top. You can just kind of eyeball your spacing. It's probably a little closer to like 3/8 maybe. Before I adhere this piece down here, I want to adhere my pieces right here. So I just had my silicone mat. You might need to use a little bit of repo tape with your borders. And you should have just enough to kind of overlap. So you're going to adhere them down, and then this piece is going to overlap them. I kind of lost the end of that jet, so I think I might be a little short on that one because it got caught up in my. So you can see you're going to have a little bit of option to overlap that. So you want it just under that piece of paper. I'm going to think about if I could salvage this. There's plenty of room for 3 of them, especially if you're using a thinner option. Yeah, I think if I butt that right up on the edge, it's just going to be long enough to tuck. That one to come off the edge slightly. So as long as this piece can come up to the edge of them, I'll be good. And then I can clean up that edge over there. If you run into an issue like me, I kind of lost my design, I can cover that up pretty easily. So I'm now going to adhere this bottom piece on top of them. And that gives you the basics of the layout. The final step, once you know kind of where you want your photos or your accent, if you want to, you can decorate right here where these corners come together. So you could just grab some of your punches or embellishments, depending on what comes with it. I thought the compass punch would be nice right there. I wasn't quite sure of my colors. And then I think I'm gonna mat it on the circle punch. I was thinking green. Let's see what green looks like at the bottom. And I think this might be light gray or might be beige. Those two look pretty similar to me. I'm gonna punch that again. This is new. I couldn't find mine, so I just took one out of my inventory, and it has some of the manufacturing oil on there. So if you do have a new punch, some of them have a little bit more oil than others. So it is nice to punch them on scrap paper actually first. And then once you punch a few times, it usually cleans itself up. And honestly, sometimes I think the oil actually just adds a little bit of dimension, kind of like inking, which works. For the photo mats, I think the same blue no, this is Starry Night. I think Starry Night would look good for my mats. I'm gonna cut a couple of 4x6 mats. I don't have photos for this. I'm going to use Passport to Adventure for the spring break I took last year when we did fly on Alaska to Seattle and stayed at Megan's house while she went to Phoenix to house hunt. But I have not started that album yet. But I know this collection will be perfect for it. So I have plenty of room here to put some photos in here, and then you can decide to, how much space you want down here. If you want to make this bigger, you could pull out your custom cutting system and cut a larger circle behind it, an extra mat or so. You could also, like I said, use tags or tag maker, something in the corner, or you can leave it up. I know I want to cover mine because I messed mine up, but on the noteworthy, I don't think it begs to have something there if you have your photos elsewhere. You can also use that spot if you want to cut a circle out of your photos, kind of do a circle layer down there. Or if you want something even bigger, if it works in your design, or one of the circle punches, the frame punches that punch the 6-inch circle. And then I would push that a little bit closer up here to the edge of that. I feel like I need another color behind my compass. Or maybe I would need to use green mats. I can't just have the green. There's a green here running in the paper. Let's see if I have this. I think I might cut a circle out of here. I've emailed Creative Memories since this came out of one of Cooper's kiwi crates. Have any of you got those for your kids or grandkids? It's this tiny little cutting mat, but it fits so well in my pod with my circles and ovals. I've suggested Creative Memories make a little one. Because while we all have these huge mats, I never want to take my layout up to do it. So I think I'll cut. I could use the inside number 2. I'm debating about what color I want it to be. Oh yeah, you're right. I did pull brown shimmer. I could see what brown shimmer would look like. I think the challenge is not having photos sometimes because the reality is the photos will pull these colors in. I'll go for the green. Let's just do the green blade. If I didn't cut that very well. I don't have a very even surface here with my double mats. I'm setting a very bad example. There we go. So this makes this a little bit bigger, a little bit more grounded. I could even pull maybe brown shimmer into the mats. We kind of need, actually, I was about to say we need a gray shimmer. The other one that would work well, I think, is an anthracite. Was that the gray shimmer that we had? I don't,
Yes.
I don't know
It
if I
was
have
like
any.
a grayish, steelish.
Yeah, I don't think I have any over here, but I do have some charcoal. I don't know if I love the brown shimmer without having brown and white photos. Let me cut. Let's try charcoal. I've been gone a lot the last few days, and now that I'm home tonight for class, the cats are like circling behind me. They're like, "You haven't been here, and I would like your attention." Just like saying prayers, they don't jump up here because they want to. Yeah, I like the gray a little bit better. I mean, this print is probably pretty washed out on camera, but the planes on here are kind of a smoky grayish blue. I think I would live with that. If you're doing something that's floral or leafy or anything that can tuck, this is a great spot too to tuck in behind there. So I've tried to talk a lot just to fill the time, but the reality is it's a pretty basic layout. But I like it's kind of clean, simple. It has a few design elements. And we can use our 8x8 paper. So if you want to do a graduation layout or something with on the mend, or you just want to buy the 8x8 packs to play with, yeah, I mean, you just need 2 sheets and your base paper and some cardstock for your mats and you're good. So I don't know what else to say to extend my time because it's only 8:21. We just give you time to get something extra made, or we can give Megan more time. I won't lie, I never looked at your layout, so I actually have no idea what you're actually making if you need more time.
No, it's mine is let's see here. My layout's pretty simple, guys. It was just kind of like how it worked out this month. So yeah, we could probably chat here for 5, 10 minutes. Still good time and plenty of time. So yeah, I'm Megan Jax out here in Phoenix, and I've got a layout for you. So I'm gonna flip to my overhead camera and we will get this one going. So I am buried in lacrosse photos. I got a new phone. I upgraded my phone. I went from a Samsung S22 Ultra up to the 25 Ultra. I feel very fancy now. And so I had to to take more photos. And so it did pretty good and got them printed. And so here we are. And I thought that this would be a fun concept to do. Tessa did something. I had to actually dig out the Power Hour layouts from a couple of years ago because Tessa did one where she had the circle and we had the wavy trimmer like going through the circle. And I always had liked that. And this idea maybe inspired by that, but we're just going to take a piece of paper through the square where we've cut off circle out of the middle. And it is very simple, but I hope once we get both pages done that kind of it will the vision will come to life. There is some opportunities in here if you guys want to take it to the next level and add some additional elements to it. You're more than welcome to do so. My lacrosse photos are they're pretty busy, so I like to keep the layouts pretty simple to let those photos stand out. So we're going to need a background paper. I am making the second page that will coordinate with the first page. So it's really going to be very much a similar thing. We're just going to be carrying it over to the other side. You need a piece of designer paper. We're going to just use the one side of it. Honestly, you could use cardstock if you want to. Obviously, you can see here it's the piece that we're going to be putting through the square with the circle cut in the middle of it. I do want an accent piece of cardstock that we're going to use to make some mats, and then you will need a 6x6 piece of paper that to do the square here. So I have a 6x12. I'll cut this in half to get that 6x6. I see Kristen's asking what paper pack. I am using, this is out of the Totally Tonals blue that was out maybe early last year. I can't remember for sure when that paper pack came out. And then I have the cardstock I am using is actually from that two-tone paper pack or the two-tone printed solids that they gave us in the navy cardstock. And these colors work really well for my son's lacrosse team, which is just full of blues. All right, so we're gonna get started with the designer paper. Actually, I'll start with the directions in the order that I wrote them, which is we're gonna take, and we want to get down to a 6x6 square. You could do this with a piece of designer paper too. I using cardstock, but if you do designer paper, you can kind of have fun with the opposite side. You could cut your circle out and then maybe you flip over your circle when you put it on your layout if you want to incorporate some more patterns into your paper. But I'm going simple with this. We are going to want to cut the middle out. We want to take the time to center our circles. And we're using circle number 2. And this one, I have several sets of these, and this one is not marked. But normally there would be on here, you can find these manufacturing dots, and they're in here somewhere, or there's one right there. You see that little thing right there in that groove? That's a manufacturing dot. And they're across from each other. And there should be one in there. I'm just not getting it. There's one there. And then there should be another one. There it is right there. And we'll use those 4 manufacturing dots and we'll get our piece, our 6x6. I'm putting it down here in the lower left of my cutting mat. And I'm going to line it up. I would have marked those manufacturing dots and I'm going to line them up at 3 inches and at 3 inches. And that will be centered on my mat. Now I'm going to have to stand up so I can see. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to want to use the green blade on the outside track. And we'll go ahead and we're going to cut our circle. I feel like I'm not centered this way. Looks, I think, better. All the way around. Before you lift, you can kind of give it a, I know it's fully released. I see the comment about having more of the totally tonal papers. I love it when we get the tonal papers. I would love to see Creative Memories do some in some other colors, maybe that we don't have in our lineup. Like, I don't know, what would be some fun colors that we don't necessarily have in our lineup that, I don't know. I was
Well,
very excited to see the black and the gray tonals
yeah, so
for
they
sure.
just did
Teal.
the gradients. It's kind of their answer to that this year, right?
The gradients were, but I still feel there's just some shades that we're missing in some ways. It would be great to see. I mean, I do like that they did the two-tone printed stuff because it's great. But it would be nice to see, some different stuff, and maybe we'll get some other, have more cardstock buffets. You're gonna end up with your square and your circle. You can set those aside for a moment. We're gonna go ahead and cut our designer paper now, and I need to cut this down to 12 by 4 3/4 inches wide. 4 3/4 inch wide is what we're going for here. So 4 3/4. If you wanted to, you could do this with a decorative blade on both sides. So you kind of have a little bit of distinct pieces here. If you wanted a little distinct edge, something fun, if you don't use your decorative blades very often, you could definitely do that here. Bonnie is talking about the bronze shimmer that Creative Memories retired. Yes, that was a big loss in our shimmer lineup. I've heard rumors maybe they're trying to source another something similar. They're still working on it. Tessa and I both have that in our inventory, so hit one of us up if you need a pack of that. But we have 2 of those 4 3/4 inch strips. You'll have as some leftovers. You maybe want to pay attention to the backside. This doesn't matter, but you can always pay attention to the backside in case you needed to cut that a certain direction. So now, after making those very difficult cuts, it is now time to actually start assembly. So we're going to work with our square here, and on the back side, so I have cardstock, so I don't really have a back side, but if you're using a designer paper, on the back side, you want to go ahead and whatever, so I'm going to come up here on this side, whatever is your inside corner. So this would be our outside corners. They're the outside of the layout. This is our inside towards the middle. I'm going to flip this over and I want to add my adhesive to this corner, these corners. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this up in the corner, and I'm going to leave about an eighth of an inch, roughly eighth of an inch. And you can see I've done it in the opposite corner. If you're doing a 2-page layout, I think it's nice and balanced when they're opposite each other. Now, the reason I left this side open is because I need to take one of these pieces and I'll put some adhesive on here, but I'm going to slide it under. And that's the reason that I've left it open, so that I can put that on, slide it under. It's just so much easier if this piece is already kind of in place. I would love to see, I mean, we're talking about reds. I would love to see crimson come back, or something that's that deep red. I think that's a really nice color. I miss that color, the dark, deep red. Cranberry is beautiful, but sometimes I just want that little bit of a deeper color. It has been a while since we've had those deep. We went a little bit there where we had like sangria, and we had a burgundy color, didn't we?
Yeah, we've definitely not had extra reds for a while. And you mentioned too, wishing that the gradients were darker in the red pack.
The red pack I thought was a little tomatoey. Some of the colors in there, and I'm sure they're trying to, they're trying to span both red and cranberry. Just my opinion.
I'm
When you put
curious.
this on here, I tell you, it's going to be it's about a 3/4 of an inch from the top, 3/4 of an inch from the bottom over here. But if you're doing a 2-page layout, what you can do is put them side to side, and you really want to try to get this as close as possible. Knowing, I mean, I know when I'm actually in my book, they're going to be separated. You've got jeeping, you've got the seam down the middle, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we want them to be fairly close. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. Just trying to get it fairly close. And I also want to see that I'm centered here. This is actually the most important part. You want to see that you're centered in your circle. So it really kind of depends on where you put your circle. I think my circle over here is a little further. Let me see here. Yeah, I can see I did a little bit more of a gap there. I'm going to adjust my circle, my square, excuse me, my square. So it's a little bit more off the edge. Evergreen. I will tell you, when I first came to Creative Memories, evergreen was like one of the only greens that we had. Maybe there wasn't. I'm trying to think if there was another green. That was available at the time. This would be 2017. I remember we had evergreen. Evergreen, I'm going to be honest with you. At the time, evergreen really made me think of that 1990s, 80s popular evergreen, and kind of that rose pink color. They'd have those, the hunter green and the rose colored everything, right? And so I was not a big fan of the hunter or the evergreen, but it definitely has its applications.
I like Sequoia, and I did ask Allison, who's the CEO for Sequoia and Basalt back, but she said the factory that manufactured those closed. And so that's their challenge sometimes sourcing paper is they can't get it ran again.
Yeah, and it comes into a battle too when they're trying to get stuff that's similar, whether or not they can source. I mean, I don't know how much they're able to go in and say, I want XYZ color, or they're kind of just handed samples from the vendor and says, here's what we got, take a pick. All right, so I've got this across the top here. Now I still need to go in here and adhere that down, but I can just put some adhesive in place, and that's easy enough to get stuck down. The next piece is really easy because it's just going to come across here nice and straight. It's
Do you
about,
remember?
I want to
Do
make
you?
sure it is the same as the top. So the spacing I have up here, spacing is down here. About 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little more. If you're making your second page, you can use your first page to guide you as to where that needs to line up. And then this circle is going to sit down here. So we can just kind of see. We have what I like about these kind of layouts where the things are going this way and the things are going that way, especially with sports photos, is it's just, I don't know, it has that sense of movement to it, which I think is a lot of fun with photos where you have action and things like that happening. So I'm not going to stick this square down yet because I'm actually I have a square photo I'm going to put in it first, and I'll wait till I get everything exactly where I want it. I will put my square photo centered on my circle, and then I will get that all put in place as one piece instead of trying to put my circle on here and then having to get my photo placed around that. All right, so now it's time to cut some mats. Now, here's probably where I wasn't super efficient with my use of paper because I do have you cutting mats that are 4¼ inch tall because we're using 4-inch tall photos. If you want to, you could scale that down. You could come down to using 4-inch mats if you want to be really efficient with your use of paper. And then you would just scale your photos down a little bit. You'd have a little bit more of your background strips showing through, but I don't think it'll be super noticeable. It's just about 1/8 of an inch more top and bottom is what you would see. You can still keep the width at that 4¼ inches. So you wouldn't use a 4x4 square. You'd use like a 4x3¾ inch tall photo. So just some adjustments if you want to be more efficient with your use of paper, or if you're okay with having some scraps left over that you can use to punch and such later. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut my first piece at 4¼ inch wide. I am doing the same mats that I have here. If you want, I've got a 4¼ by 4¼ inch square right here on top of the square. I have a 4¼ inch tall by 6 inches wide here. Now I put a smaller photo on because I use that side to do the title. You could have those same sizes come down here if you don't want to use the 3x4s. You could also come in with probably like 2 4x5s. You can get a little bit creative with how you put your photos on here. So I've given you some recommendations, but you can adjust those as needed for your photos. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this to 4¼ because I cropped photos exactly the same to do the other side. So 4¼ And then these are 3¼ inch wide, these bottom ones. I'm going to cut 3 of those, 3 of those at 3¼ One more. And I'll do another strip at that 4¼ and that's going to get me my mats for the next row. If I needed to add more photos here, I could use 3x4 peekaboo pockets and 4x4 peekaboo pockets. If I hadn't done the stickers the way I did here, well, no, because this is 4¼ by 6. It's not 4x6. So this mat, this square one, I'm cutting that mat, which is 4¼ by 4¼ And then this one is 4¼ by 6. So here's my photos. I have another square-ish photo that I'm going to have down here. And I deliberately cut it to be the size where I can do title similar here. I'm going to do it over here. They ended up being the kind of the champions by default of this particular skirmish tournament thing we went to. The other team that we were supposed to play for the championship or whatever, the other teams left. It was a very confusing situation, but we let the boys have their win. You take the first place even when it's kind of by default. So this is the square photo I was mentioning. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to my circle. I'm just going to center it on my circle as best I can, and then I will place that as one piece with the other photo or the other mat on this lower section. So here's what I can do, because I do have to do a little bit of an overlap. Just a little bit. It'll be something about like that. And then I have three 3x4 photos to go along the top edge. And sport photos I find work pretty well to crop down. I'm just, as I mentioned, I'm taking this with my phone, and so I don't have a real strong zoom on my phone. It's pretty good, but I'm kind of far away. I did tell my husband I was going to buy a new lens for my camera. Tessa, do you just have a 200 or do you have a 400 zoom on your camera for soccer?
I have a 300.
A 300, yeah. I'm debating a 3 or a 400 because next year Cody moves up to full field, like how Campbell plays on the soccer field. It'll be similar for Cody on the fertile cross, and so it'll just be easier if I have more of a zoom.
When you were out here and you took the photos for me at her game, you did well with the 300. You had some good close-ups.
Yeah, yeah, it just depends on the range. I don't. I have to figure it out. So it's going to be something along these lines. I might come in and decide to add some peekaboo pockets here, especially if I want to do any kind of journaling. I probably need to tell the story of how they kind of ended up with the first place designation, even though it was a good little tournament. It's kind of a little regional thing.
Going back to the cardstock discussion, do you remember
Huh?
when they tried to discontinue cranberry? And their
Oh,
excuse
they
was, remember they said it was a custom dye, it was a Creative Memories custom color, and so they did not want to pay to rerun it, except so many people about lost their mind that they did. And that might be why we don't get some of the colors back, because they would have to custom
that
order.
very well could be is if some of the colors, but I we all know we can be very passionate about our colors. And I do believe there are some benefits to having custom colors, especially when some of the colors that seem to be the default are maybe not the best or just not quite what we want, I guess. Um, so Judy say when you're in Cancun, point out the green of the palm trees. They are not avocado. No, they are not. Green is, I think green and blues, we can never have enough green and blues. And I do miss, I think our greens, we could use a few more in there for sure. All right. So this is kind of the layout. This is how it all works. We're going to go here. I'm going to come over and put another title similar to here. It's going to say 10U silver because they were in the silver bracket. And then I'll put in champions. And I might come in with a peekaboo pocket. I still have a lot of photos that I could crop down to do 3x4s out of them. So I could add a lot more photos. And this was the first game. This is the second game. This is just pictures I have from the second game, let alone the pictures I have from the first game. So, I mean, I feel like I could fill up a whole 12 by 12 album just with this particular season. But there's some possibilities in here if you wanted you come in with some additional maybe strips of cardstock or colors in here if you wanted to put some additional detail in. But I was kind of keep it a little bit simple. My photos have a lot going on in them, and I wanted to make sure that they were the focus without having to worry about adding more. Sometimes less is more, and I'm feeling that way about this particular this particular layout. So that might be a record for me. I would like it to be known that by 5:45, this is the power 3/4 hour. We are just it just we've had power 90s, we haven't had a power 120 yet. Um, I guess we
Power
could aim for
45.
that.
Yeah.
What?
Power 45, apparently.
A power of 45. Yeah, power of 45. But hey, it's sometimes you need that. And so we appreciate everybody coming with us tonight as we zipped through all of these layouts or the two layouts tonight. Just as a reminder, you can share your layouts, your versions of the layouts in the ideas and inspiration group. You can use a hashtag that's included at the top of your handouts. It is March 2025 PH. And Tessa's going to do a drawing soon, right? Is she going to nod her head that, yeah, we'll do a drawing for February. Don't forget. We don't forget. We just
Oh, well,
do it.
sometimes I do it when I post this, so tomorrow.
Yeah. So look for that tomorrow. We'll get you tagged in the group if you are the lucky winner, and then you'll get some happy mail sent to you. Other things coming up, we have our National Scrapbook Day Project Workshop is going to be on March 27th. So a little more than 2 weeks from now, right? March 27th, is that right? Yes, March 27th. It's a daytime class. But we will record it. And if you register for the class, you will get that registration or you'll get that recording in your inbox. Otherwise, you'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel. We will put it up for up there. It's a free class. You will want to have the the customer bundle from Creative Memories for the National Scrapbook Day. We're going to put together a couple of page layouts from the project recipe kit, and then we will put together layouts included in the project booklet. They're super cute, very gardeny. If that's something you really enjoy, definitely there. And there's ways that you can modify some things if you want to tone down the garden parts of it as well. And but yeah, you want to get registered for that. As I mentioned, it's free. Deborah's asking, what is the summer challenge? Well, we're just now wrapping up the winter frolic. So if you are part of winter frolic, you still have a couple more days to get layouts completed and added to your tally. That survey will be going out probably later this week, so you can fill that in. What is
Probably tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow. That's it. She's like flashing signals at me, and she's real tiny on my screen, so I don't know what she's saying, right? Um, and so you have to get those all done. And then registration will probably open probably sometime in April. Tessa and I need to discuss dates because now it's weird. I'm like June when I lived in Washington, I was home the whole time because we were still doing our school year. I think I get out of school sooner than Tessa does. We get done at May 20th. When are you done? Like it's
No, we're usually right after Memorial Day, like the
Oh,
Wednesday
we're
after.
the Tuesday before Memorial Day is our
That's
last day of
early.
school. That's early. I know it feels kind of crazy. So we need to sit down, look at some dates, and just make sure how everything's going to go. But we will get registration open. We are looking forward to scrapping with you all this summer. And then virtual crop for Creative Memories is this upcoming Friday. Fun layouts there. Anything else that we have going on? Oh, the next Power Hour. We don't know yet. Tessa's got a spring break in there. Are you the first week of, is that your spring break first week?
We leave Thursday night the 3rd, so we're out that whole next week, ending in like the 12th, 13th.
Okay. So we are going, Tessa and I we'll confirm because it looks like then we might be gathering on Tax Tuesday, the 15th. But don't quote me on that yet. We will get a date out for you guys and get the so you can put that on your calendars here soon. All right. I think that's all. I'm grasping at straws at this point to figure out what else
I'll get to
to
that.
talk
We
about.
do not usually have this problem. It's kind of funny.
You know, no, I want it noted. Y'all put it on your calendar. We'll have like an anniversary celebration of the time that Megan got done in 20 minutes.
Hey, we have to have some easy wins. We cannot spend forever on every
we
layout.
we do. We do. Easy wins. Easy for the win. That's what we're going now. It's foam squares for the win. We're going easy for the win tonight. All right, everybody, take care. We will see you all soon. Cannot wait to see your layouts. We love that you share them. Thank you so much for doing so. And thank you for joining us tonight. I see somebody popped a question. Oh, Pam is asking, what is the summer challenge? Real quick, if you all know what that is, you can sign off. But if you don't know, the summer scrap challenge is like our winter scrap challenge. It's 8 weeks of content and inspiration. We share a challenge layout every Monday, and we say challenge with like a technique or something, and it's not overly challenging. The challenge is in the summer is to get it done because you're busy, you're distracted with all sorts of wonderful things outside. And then on Thursdays we have a throwback. There's videos, there's handouts, there's lots of inspiration. It's like power hour on steroids in some ways. It's lots and lots of fun. And there's prizes and there's a scrap board and there's just I mentioned sharing. There's lots and lots of sharing and lots of great ideas. So the registration will come out for that. It's going to be, I think it's going to be $39. Includes it's 8 weeks. Makes your summer go by fast, which sometimes is not so great. Like you want to slow down a little bit. I will be sweating through it all. So I want summer to go very fast, just to get to the cool fall again. All right. So that's what Summer Scrap Challenge is. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.